Football.
Football. Yes.
Football?
Football.
Greg?
Football.
Football it.
Stugotz.
Footballing it.
Football.
Football.
Football. Oh, Spike.
Deion.
Football.
He's been wanting to get on camera for so long, and they throw him a pass and he drops it.
Unbelievable.
There are a number of things that I wish to discuss. Obviously, it's Deion Day. Deion stole the weekend. Deion gets football until Thursday night. He gets all of the football talk.
He owns football.
Yes. Lucy told you that Duke was good and Clemson wasn't. Mike Ryan told you that FSU was good and that LSU wasn't. But Deion wins the weekend. We'll get to that in a second. But I heard Billy, and I can't believe that he's saying this because Homer, Greg Cody, is in peak form today. He just said Phillips is going to lead the league in sacks.
Correct.
He just said it.
In fairness to Greg, he said he could lead the league in sacks.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
He
will.
could, yes.
He will. I've upgraded my take.
Okay, good.
Yeah, he will
All right.
lead the league in sacks. Matter of fact, I'll go one further. Got a shot at 20. The elusive
Really?
20 sacks.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep, big shot.
All right.
Okay, so Greg Cody is in full Homer mode, but Billy dared to whisper something that I haven't heard anybody whisper in town. And it's surprising given, the century of football that Dolphins have given us. But Billy asked the question I haven't heard anyone ask, which is, are the Dolphins good?
I mean, I didn't ask it just like that. There seems to be no consensus on what this team is, right?
I believe the consensus is their expectations for the team.
No, there's not even consensus on that because Peter King has them missing the playoffs. And then other people have them winning the AFC. So, they're all over the place, this team, and what people think they will do and what they will be.
I think the consensus is if Tua stays healthy, they'll be a good football team, right? If he stays healthy. It's a big if, but if he stays healthy, they'll be good, right?
I have enjoyed an offseason of Greg Cody calling Fangio God and then Bills fans sending us Josh Allen's numbers against Fangio, as they should, because it's absurd to believe that Fangio's got some secret that's going to stop Mahomes from hosting another AFC championship game. But there are, more than I can remember, at any time in the 2000s, expectations for this football team. The problem is this time of year, the Lions also think they're going to the Super Bowl.
Yep.
There are so many teams that think and are behaving like they're a piece away. The Dolphins are one of them, even though they wouldn't have been by consensus the group of five that we think of as a piece away. The Dolphins have spent the entire offseason behaving as if they think they're going to win the championship this year. Usually that means you've got to win your division. The Jets also think everything that the Dolphins think about their season. And the Bills have greater expectations than both of them.
That's why football's awesome, Dan.
Yeah.
Something's got to give.
I think I know what we need to do. We need to go around and find the frauds. Who are the cities and teams doing the show right now, excited about their team, that have no shot? I would not put the Dolphins in that category. Whether they actually do it or not, we'll see.
The Browns, I think the Browns fans are excited about.
They feel like they have a shot.
Well, the
yes.
idea that Deshaun Watson will, that was a rushed year of some sort.
Do the Steelers actually think they have a shot?
Yes.
No.
They do.
That's for me. That's my team that shouldn't be doing that show today. We should be doing the show about we're excited. Whether we do it or not, we'll see. But we should be excited.
But
today.
hold on a second. They're saying the same thing about you, which is the
No,
problem.
they're not.
Yeah,
if,
no,
if
they
they're-
are.
If the
I think
Steelers
they
fans
are,
are
yeah.
looking at the Dolphins think that we're the Steelers, hey, we're
Right.
not. We have way more talent than you guys.
Put it on the poll. Are Steelers fans looking at the Dolphins and saying we're the same as
The
you?
thing about being the fraud is a lot of people don't know when they're a fraud. You know what I mean?
Well,
So,
I don't think you could call the Steelers a fraud when they've never had a losing season under Tomlin. Like, if they've never once had a losing season, that puts them in the conversation.
I love Chris lashing out at Steeler fans having no idea what's going on Pittsburgh sports radio right now. Like, you have no idea. You don't know if they're
But yeah-
saying
but
that
yeah,
we're
you do.
frauds.
No,
You
but-
don't badmouth
but yeah,
my
you
team.
do.
Well, I know the Steelers are thinking they have a shot at winning the Super Bowl because they're the Steelers.
Stugotz, you can go to just about any market, and this time of year, before the injuries have mounted, before you've started 1-3 and have to go to the Niners,
Right.
this time of year, I'm going to guess 26 of the teams, everybody but Arizona,
Right.
is saying we're going to be in some sort of contention for the playoffs.
There's no way Atlanta's doing that show today. They're not.
No,
Dan.
they're-
They can't be
they're
doing
all
Okay,
that
but
show.
all,
Really?
but 4 or 5.
Okay.
A hopeful fan base can talk itself into anything. You just said the Jets are going 15-2.
What's wrong with being hopeful? Right now, there's nothing to be sad about. No one has lost yet. Why don't you live it up and enjoy it before it's gone?
The
Live it
Raiders.
up.
The Raiders can't be hopeful. It's going to be a down year.
Well, they have Brady just waiting in the
exactly.
lurch.
Waiting.
Uh-huh.
When they start 1-3.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
Let's go for a second to sound here that I wanted to get to, Stugotz. Travis Kelce, this is an amazing thing to think about. Travis Kelce is about 1,500 yards from being third on the all-time tight end receiving list. The impressive part about that is that it took Antonio Gates, who was pretty good, 236 games to do it. Kelce has played 144. Man. And he is going somehow to be a better tight end than Gronk, who I thought was the best tight end ever if Kelce can stay healthy, and he always seems to stay healthy. But he's the second most interesting guy on his own podcast because his brother is the center for the Eagles, and they've got a very popular podcast, and Jason Kelce is a little bit funnier than Travis is, and Travis is plenty funny and plenty loose. But Travis Kelce... Jason Kelce, they have this story about scrimmaging last year against the Eagles. And
The Dolphins.
Against the Dolphins, excuse me. Thank you, Chris. And Christian Wilkins evidently lit up Jason Kelce so well that a guy who always has something to say had no comeback to this.
Something about a good insult where it's like you can't even like get mad at it. It's just great.
You got to tell the one, man.
Which one? I got a bunch.
You got to tell the Miami joint practice one.
Dude, Wilkins was talking trash just in the practice. So he was talking trash, and then I started yapping at him, which pretty big party foul by me because I wasn't able to practice.
You were practicing, yeah.
So I'm over here yelling, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, Jalen Phillips says, "Shut up, eyebrows. You ain't even practicing." And I was like, dude, this motherfucker just called me eyebrows? Like, I can't even come back from that. Like,
That boy got some thick ass eyebrows, man.
like the dad from American Pie. I mean, it's, you know, there ain't too many dudes got eyebrows like this.
Do you know how thick your eyebrows have to be for someone to say that to you when you're wearing a helmet? Now, maybe he wasn't because he was on the sidelines and he wasn't practicing. So, but
Eyebrows.
But I do believe you can see those particular eyebrows even through a helmet. They house a family of German tourists. They're very thick.
Wow, German tourists,
Yes.
not just tourists.
Right.
Okay.
The bird's in there.
Dennis Schroeder.
Huh.
German tourists.
Are the Dolphins good, Greg Cody? He has pronounced them
Yes.
Super Bowl champions. He
No,
says,
well-
no, you know what? Let's get this all out here. Because last year you happened to be right on this front. You said Tyreek Hill and Waddle
Right.
would have enormous seasons, and they did.
Yep.
And so enormous that evidently the Colts asked for Waddle in exchange for Jonathan Taylor, and Chris Greer, who never says anything like this, just said, yeah, Waddle's not available. Just nobody can have Waddle. You can't have Waddle.
He's
I
ours.
don't care who you are, what you have. I don't care. Waddle is ours. But there was, Billy, you were right. There was a mystery team.
There's always a
there was
mystery team,
Did you
Dan.
see
Yeah.
who the mystery team was?
Yeah, the Packers, right?
Yeah.
What are they doing?
They think they have a chance, just like the Dolphins and
away.
everyone
Yeah.
else. A piece
They're
away.
not a piece away. They were a piece away with Aaron Rodgers.
Bad division, Billy.
They lost
It is
that
a bad
piece.
division.
No, but they've got a great offensive line.
Eh.
Okay, good commentary from the fourth-ranked International Football Insider as he prepares you for God
Sometimes
bless
you need
football.
to just dismiss some of these things. You know what I mean? Like, okay, win your division, and then what?
Okay.
Get bounced in the first game of the playoffs? But get out of here.
To answer your question, yes, the Dolphins are a very good, bordering on great team. I have them ranked number 4 in the NFL.
You mentioned that last
in
week.
my
The thing,
opinion.
the thing I wanted to ask you
It's worth repeating, Dan.
is, yes, you've got them 4th in the league.
Yeah, go check out my NFL rankings, which I put out every year. These are great. I have the exact order 1 through 32. It's a beautiful
Deep
array
concept.
of teams.
Who's 26?
You know, I'd have to look it up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure, which I encourage listeners to do. Go look that up. Just Google Greg Cody NFL team rankings. It comes right up. They deliver it right to your
I
digital
want all
doorstep.
your homerific picks. You say Phillips will lead the league in sacks and
Right.
get to 20.
Maybe.
Tyreek
You keep making it a maybe. I don't understand what you're doing.
Well, he said he might get to 20. You didn't say definitively.
But you
He
keep.
did not.
I don't understand why you
Trying
keep
to help him out,
No,
Dan.
you're not trying to do anything other than undercut. He is making with conviction these bold claims, and you keep doing maybes to him.
I don't do maybes. By the way, no maybe about it. Number 26 in my rankings is the Titans. The ghost. They've given help to the ghost of Ryan Tannehill.
Right.
They still have Derrick Henry. Defense sucks. They won't do much of anything. Tyreek Hill, 2K. Okay, Tyreek Hill will get his 2,000 yards.
You're the worst.
And break the NFL record.
You're just Hulk Hogan right now.
Jalen
Dolphins fan.
Waddle will receive for more than 1,500 yards.
Wow.
Tua will allay all doubts by playing in 16 of 17 games. He will miss one game. Jalen
Which game?
You know what? I don't want to say.
Okay,
because it could
thanks.
influence betting trends.
Fair.
You know.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. Yeah.
But, the Dolphins are the real deal. Mina Kimes, who knows the NFL as well as
Keep
anybody
going
on
though.
earth,
I want to hear. I don't want.
says
I
they're a
want
top
your
5
thoughts,
talent.
not Mina
Okay.
Kimes. I asked you.
Okay.
If I wanted to talk to Mina Kimes, I would do this with her.
Okay, you want more of a stat breakdown? Like
I want you to tell me what all of your predictions are for homerific. What is going to happen? Jalen Ramsey's going to return and have 40 interception and 17 pick sixes. What's going to happen?
No, Jalen's gonna sack 20 times. He's gonna lead the league with 20 sacks.
Phillips.
Jalen Phillips. What did I say?
Yeah, he was talking about Jalen Ramsey.
Oh, if Ramsey has 20 sacks, that's unbelievable. Ramsey will
This is the new
will miss
unapproved
most of the
LeBatard
season.
show with the
That's
Stugotz. Gamble on by DraftKings.
I sent Stugotz a picture this weekend of 6 old-timey sports radio hosts in this market at WQAM. Hank Goldberg and Mark Eisenberg, and it was 6 Eddie Kaplan.
Yeah.
And Stugotz's response to me was a surprising one: put them all out of business.
We did.
But I saw this weekend that there was one we did not put out of business, and it made me smile. It really did. To see Joe Rose answer the door in an Air Around the Clock commercial,
I saw it.
wearing a shirt that said on the front, Joe Rose.
That's my man. I like it.
Big dog.
It made me genuinely thrilled to see that him and Air Around the Clock are still out here, because this is, Stugotz, this has gotten to be a tough business. There are not, the business.
Not for Joe Rose.
Not for Joe Rose, man. He's a plow horse till the end. 300 tight end receiving yards for Marino. No one has made more out of being a remora fish around a great white shark than Joe Rose. Wearing a shirt that said, again, in giant block wham letters, Joe Rose.
Of course. We didn't put Joe Rose out of business because we hired Joe Rose to do mornings for us.
Because you can't put Joe Rose out of business. He's got too many relationships in this market, and no matter how good Stugotz thinks he is at putting people out of business, Joe Rose and Kim Bocamper will not be put out of business.
So long as headquarter Toyota keeps coming in with
That
the money.
is correct.
Yep, and Dry Concepts.
They've got the relationship Stugotz thinks he has in this market that Stugotz does not have. Why? Because no one has them. These come from the Dolphins' past. They made friends with car dealers and air conditioning people, and they will ride that to the grave. Radio can die. South Florida can sink. And Joe Rose will still be telling you about Lenny, Spiffy, Eddie, and the rest.
Chippy.
Whatever.
Scotty and Mike.
And Boar's Head.
Oh, Boar's Head.
Those were the glory days in this market.
Yeah.
When a season started for the Dolphins, and it was allowed to have expectations like this. It's been 15 years. It's been what? Lamar Smith won a playoff game, and then they played the Bills with their backup quarterback, and they played the Steelers with their backup quarterback. The league is built on parity. Everyone has the same salary cap. The Dolphins are never here, and they're behaving right now like they're never going to get here again. Trade everybody, get everybody. We're playing for right now. We don't even know if the stadium is going to get swallowed by the shore.
You have Joe Rose still reading Air Around the Clock.
Floating
commercials?
around.
That's right.
Floating around on something made of bamboo. There will be no power, but he'll be here to tell you Air Around the Clock can get you air around the clock because your wife is hot.
I love the big dog.
The shirt said Joe Rose.
Right.
Now, Greg Cody fancies himself. You heard the authority. He just said the Titans. Man, no one's got the Titans falling like that. Titans have been good for a long time.
Yep.
Greg Cody's got them at 26. Greg Cody's podcast, The Greg Cody Show, featuring Greg Cody,
Yeah.
So fun. Yeah.
has some sound of why it is that you should respect Greg Cody's expertise. Here he is on Colorado football and Deion Sanders.
He's the most overhyped college coach in the country right now. Colorado, they were 1-11 last year. He takes over the team, changes the whole roster, and now because he's a self-promoter, Coach Prime, everybody thinks they're instantly going to be great. They're going to get their ass kicked this season. It's like ridiculous. They're ranked like in the 80s. Like they are so far from the top 25, you need binoculars to see them.
The Greg Cody Show featuring Greg Cody.
Fine.
Wherever you get your podcast.
It's just, when there's too much attention for too little reason, my human nature is to go, wow, it'd be fun to watch him fail. I know that's not a positive trait by me, but I'm just looking for Deion Sanders, Coach Prime, to fall flat on his face, frankly, because the hype is such that people just expect Colorado to instantly be great.
That take hasn't aged particularly well. It sounded good coming out of my mouth. And by the way, I deny what everybody is saying. I categorically deny that I have something against Deion Sanders because 2 years ago he had agreed to come on my podcast and changed his mind because I would not agree to his personal assistant's demand that I refer to him only as Coach Prime.
What?
Really?
No wonder you said that with so much bow.
Crazy?
I believe that 100%.
Wait a minute.
Yeah,
this
no,
is a
that's the
real
truth.
story.
Greg.
Your pettiness is showing so much. Your analysis of Deion Sanders was based on
No,
him
I'm
turning
kidding.
down a
I
podcast.
told you I categorically deny that.
He denied it.
I deny it, Billy.
Some
Billy's got
people
my
have
back.
said that.
No, but I
Some
believe
have
it.
said.
After hearing about what
Categorically.
Billy, after hearing about what he
different,
did
yeah.
to Zach Thomas,
What Zach Thomas did to him.
I can be petty. I'll admit that.
He's actually he's retracted that. He feels bad for not going.
Yeah,
Chris,
I am.
it's
Well, no kidding.
asinine. It's asinine. Your dad always wants to be invited to shit like that. He gets invited and then says, well, only if you come on my podcast.
Well, let's not rehash that. But in the case of
It's a give and take relationship. You know?
why, I have my integrity. Why am I going to agree to only refer to him as Coach Prime? He's not my coach. I'll call him Deion Prime.
I mean,
Mr.
Dan,
Prime. I'm not going to call him Coach Prime. It's ridiculous.
We've on this very show had people come on and say these are the conditions in which you will appear on this show, and we'll say no, we're not going to just do that.
There you go. You
Greg
can't
didn't
buy
know
me.
different. Exactly.
But if Dan was offered Deion Sanders today and had to call him Coach Prime, Dan would take the interview and call him Coach
It
Prime.
also doesn't.
today,
It also
yeah.
doesn't taint my coverage 2 years later
It doesn't take
because
Greg
I'm
denied it categorically.
soaked in bitterness.
No.
It is funny that he's got everyone calling him Coach Prime.
It's ridiculous.
It should be Coach Time.
Did you see Colorado's official university commercial is all about Deion? It's like, this is the prime university in the prime college
good.
town with a prime education.
He's paid for himself. He got a $29 million contract, and they got $28 million in donations. They've got their season tickets sold out for the first time in more than a quarter of a century. He did more transfers than anyone, 53. Well, I mean, we're not even pretending anymore. Never mind about what this used to be. The greatest mercenary in sports that you've just about ever seen just took college football by storm by taking everyone out there in the Louis Vuitton baggage, getting all those players out of there, bringing his own 53 in. And if that's how we're going to do business in the business of college sports, Stugotz, where USC can just get a quarterback-coach combo and fix everything, well, Deion comes with 53 of them.
Right.
And he's changed the rules. He's never played by the rules. And now he has done something that left me flabbergasted, Stugotz, because that was one of the worst power conference schools I've ever seen last year. Ever. Just truly, truly terrible. And to go from that, and you can, man, so many of you want to knock TCU. Fine. They've got 3 starters returning. They can't play defense. I saw the throws Deion's kid was making. Those throws work against anybody.
Going to be funny when his kid transfers to Alabama.
And Deion is at FSU.
I don't think that the TCU being overrated and Colorado being better than we thought are mutually exclusive things. I think they can both be true at the same time, and I think that's the case here. I'm always a little worrisome of going week 1 and just absolutely taking these expectations. Colorado's got a feisty Nebraska team next week. TCU is not as good as we think they are. What Deion has done is very impressive, but I think we should just slow
Tap
down
the
a little
brakes.
bit.
No, it was a cool moment, and I understand what you're saying, but I was uncomfortable. He did a great job. But the amount of praise being heaped on Deion Sanders as if he was the guy out there making the actual plays. He was not, Dan.
But
his son
hold on,
was.
hold on.
Dylan Edwards was.
Hold on.
Travis Hunter was. It was not all Deion Sanders.
Stugotz.
His defense gave up
Stugotz.
40-plus.
Stugotz, a Hall of Fame player of this caliber, there's one best cornerback ever. It's him.
Yep.
Changed the sport coming out of college,
No doubt.
was brash and cartoonish 30 years ago, is the guy in the commercials with Nick Saban. Not any other coach. He's the second most famous coach in college in America. Second. He's more excellent at what he did for a career than any of those coaches are at anything. And now he brings an army of players with him. You can reduce your expectations if you like. He's already exceeded mine. They went and beat a ranked team for the first time in 30 years. That was an epically bad program. You can tap the brakes if you want. I'm telling you, that's something worth celebrating. An anarchist who had to go through the black college route because nobody thought he could coach. Nobody thought, nope, you can't have a chance. You are not excellent enough. Steve Kerr can have a chance over here, Derek Fisher. You can't have a chance, Deion. You've got to go to a school whose funding is so bad that when you get to the Colorado program, terrible, you're awed by the facilities.
But, Dan, I'm not tapping the brakes. I think, and I thought this before it happened. I said, Deion, Florida State should fire their coach and hire Deion Sanders.
FSU looks really good.
I believe in Deion Sanders. I do. I'm not tapping the brakes. I was just uncomfortable with all the credit going to Deion Sanders and none of it going to the kids.
Travis Hunter was talked about plenty. We all learned the names.
We celebrated Deion over the weekend.
We all learned the name Saturday of Travis Hunter. If you did not know it before and you care about sports, that's what happened Saturday. A star coach and a star player made an appearance to now make expectations when they go to Nebraska higher and different. But I'm just telling you that what I saw from a competence perspective, I don't care that TCU can't play defense. I'm telling you that that quarterback hitting those receivers, he was throwing a ball that will make them competitive in all their games, and I did not think they would be. The betting line didn't think they would be. It was 3 touchdowns. That's the first time they've beaten a ranked team on the road in 30 years as a program. Like, you can just celebrate it because it's seismic. It's unbelievable what he just did. They played for the national championship last year. It could not have started better because it wasn't just that they won. Holy shit, did you want to watch that game?
Yeah.
That was fun to watch.
I'm sorry if I seem distracted. Greeny just picked the Steelers to win the AFC North. And that is just, what is he smoking?
That's a bad conference.
Division.
Yeah, it's a great conference. And actually, it isn't a bad division. It's an average division.
Why'd you say that?
To
I mean,
your
come on,
point,
man.
Make up your mind, man.
Greg,
No,
what
it's an
time?
average division.
Things are fluid.
Greg.
I want to replay that last 10 seconds.
Greg,
Fluid
It's,
situation.
it's an
exactly
average
right.
division. It's not a bad division.
This is a new and unimproved Dan LeBatard show with the Stugotz. Gamble on by DraftKings.
Jake Berger is going to join us in a second. TCU, incidentally, Stugotz, had a defensive tackle, a freshman, who was 6'5", 455 pounds.
Wow.
18.
Freshman.
That's insane.
Yeah. I'm confused by that. Just generally confused by a freshman being able to be that size. And I'm also genuinely interested in this part because you guys during the break were still not wanting to give Deion credit. And I do think it's funny when the story arc is you believe guy's going to suck. He shows you week 1, oh, quite the opposite. That's the best start we possibly could have had. Both of you react with, yeah, tap the brakes. Show me in week 2. Nah, it's Nebraska. Show me against Alabama.
Yeah.
And, okay, we'll get there. Just the fact that we're talking about this way about Deion and that he's already paid for himself. Stugotz, the program, think about what just happened. The program couldn't afford that coach, didn't have the money, hired him anyway. The fans, they crowdsourced. They got him there, and they got $28 million. And now they've got season tickets. And now they've got the hottest story in sports all weekend. He's already paid for himself.
I understand that. It's a great story. I myself believed in Deion Sanders before Saturday's win. Dan, you're basing all of this off of one game. Like one game. It's one game. They beat TCU and a quarterback who's playing his first college game, and they gave up 40 points.
It's the only game they played. He's only had one chance.
I know, but you're acting like this is the greatest thing we've ever seen. They're 1-0.
It's a cool story. I don't care whether they go 5-7 or not. I don't know what you're so eager to tap the brakes on enthusiasm for the coolest story in college football this week.
I feel like you guys switched roles. Like, I feel like Dan might be a prisoner of the moment here, and Stugotz is like, let's have perspective.
True. You're right.
But I'm not even talking about, my point isn't that this team is going to be great. My point is simply that what I saw in the first game is they're going to be a hell of a lot better than I or anyone thought they would be.
They couldn't be any worse.
Agreed. But we thought that this was going to be some sort of joke. Let's play all of the wrong that we have heard around here.
I was just looking at the schedule, and I don't know if you want to do wins and losses with us down the thing, but I think there's a chance Colorado might win 0 games this year, which would be really, really bad.
From what I've heard a couple of people say all hat, no calf, like all dough, no show, but actually all show, no dough.
What's the schedule at the beginning, Billy? Who do
all right,
they have?
ooh, W's and L's. I love this. All right, at TCU.
Tough game.
That's an L.
That's an L. That's an L.
He's the most overhyped college coach in the country right now.
My expectations are that Colorado will not be able, with its schedule, to win a road game of any kind.
Well, then that's an L because that's on
any,
the road.
Of
That's
any kind.
That's an L.
You know what was like?
Well, Deion will get there with his Louis Vuitton bags and all his portal guys.
A lot of those bags are getting lost at the airport, my friend.
They're going to get their ass kicked this season.
We're getting a little worried about Colorado football back here. And we're just kind of looking at it saying, like, where do they win?
How will the Coach Prime gimmick?
I want him to succeed. Let me get out ahead and say that. I want him to succeed, but I also kind of see this may blow up.
I'm assuming he's going to get his ass kicked for the first year because maybe you could do it the way Lincoln Riley does. You show up at USC with the same number of portal and transfer players, and immediately USC goes from an average program to a borderline contender program, but Colorado's really bad.
Like, they are so far from the top 25, you need binoculars to see them.
I don't think it's actually going to be successful if I had to bet on one of the two.
Stugotz, for the people who do not remember this glorious, glorious history of the coach of this football team, showed up at his final college game in a top hat and a tuxedo, pulled out of a limo with a 0.0 GPA because he'd already gone pro. He could play baseball or football. And he turned into one of the first loud renegade, I'm not going to change for anyone athletes that we had in the 90s. Played 2 sports, was great at both of them. I've told you a story. One of my favorite quotes ever was Muddy Field, Steve Walsh, Dave Wanstead, playoff game in San Francisco. Wannstedt's only throwing to half the field. It's a muddy field. Half the field because he's afraid of Deion. Running off the field with Deion after the game, his uniform, muddy playoff game, isn't all that dirty. And I asked him if he'd ever played in a game so boring, and his response was, it's called baseball. He was helicoptering and flying in between Atlanta and Miami to play a football game and a playoff game in baseball on the same day. And he comes out of college at one of the original mercenaries, one of the original businessmen, like shook all the constructs, Stugotz, because how can this guy behave this way? Because he was more excellent than anyone else.
Because he was that good.
Gave his feet to the cause. He is missing toes because he can't walk very well anymore because it was hard to do what he did. And, quiet as it's kept, one of the most prepared athletes ever. People thought he just had a gift because he was faster than everybody else, and he did. But he was also a mercenary who took his craft very seriously, and he's been warning you for a while that this team, and he is coming. He is coming. And he just stole the first weekend of the year. This is how he debuted, though. I want to play this video in honor of him, his music video. Again, must be the money. That's how he came out of college in the 90s. Just wants money. Throwing that in everybody's face. And such a good story. It is not a good song.
Yeah, good. I liked it.
Decent, yeah.
You're both wrong. But he's been slick for such a long time. And to see this reinvention, Stugotz, I don't know why there would be any need to poo-poo it. Like, let the man have his week. He has a fundamental misunderstanding of what the media's job is, because he asked Ed Werder this week, and he's like, do you believe? And Werder's response, you can imagine Werder, right?
Wait, great. Werder left Cowboys camp?
No, yes, for a moment.
Okay.
Just went to Texas Christian.
Amazing.
Nearby. Yeah. ESPN sent its Cowboys correspondent over there. And you can imagine how tired Cowboy Ed Werder is of the entire Deion experience. And he's got to trek across the desert to get to where TCU is and sit in the locker room and have Deion yell at him, you don't believe, do you believe? And Werder's response, because he's a grizzled veteran, was, in what?
He won't be rattled.
It's not even rattled. It's just, at this point, you can go to Ed Werder about anything in life. And you'd be like, this whole industry is beating you down, right? Like, it's hard covering the Cowboys and talking about Dak every day. Like, yeah, you must be tired. Do you believe? In what? In Disney, in sports coverage, in reporting, in the life of journalists on the sideline. In what? Deion wants people to celebrate with him, and of course this is going to be, instead of just excellence and success, it also will be polarizing, but that's good for business. It's been good for his business forever.
See, you said that like you can't like crap on what Deion is doing, and I agree. He's been what a fantastic first win, like all the credit there. But for me, as someone who just loves college football so much, it scares me about the expectations for head coaches going forward. Deion is actually not the only coach that has done this whole transfer thing to this level. Texas State beat Baylor this weekend, and that was a coach that brought in 50 new players as well. That's going to become the standard. It's going to be even tougher for coaches to retain their job because they're going to say, hey, Deion got to Colorado, won immediately, and that kind of freaks me out.
Lucy, I could not possibly care less about the people running these programs, feeding off of the injustices for as long as they have. Of course, Bishop Sycamore, and a team with an army of soldiers is going to show up for the money because Kirk Ferentz has been too safe in his job for too long. And of course, if I can make my program have no money and be a bad, terrible, terrible power conference team, and overnight I can hire a guy and his expendables, his crew, and win the day the way Colorado did this weekend. Do you know how much value there is? Money value in Colorado Nowhere program for a quarter of a century. Stugotz, they have not mattered since they won a co-national title, and everyone on their roster had been arrested. Everyone on their roster was arrested. They won the title, and then football has not mattered there for a really long time. This is not the primest job that Prime could get. No. This is the only one that he could get, one with no money.
And he won't be there long.
Probably not, because he's underpaid already. He has already paid for himself just by doing the media circuit this week, just by wandering around doing the interviews on, can you believe what I just did? I changed college football. It doesn't matter if it echoes or not. Like, obviously, in the long term, maybe it'll change the business construct or not, but I'm so tired of these coaches like Dabo Swinney. Go away. Good. You had a nice run, and now let's see what you can do. Now let's see what you can do in this climate. Let's make that a democracy. You've been bullying players forever. Now let's see what it looks like when you can't get all the guys because somebody else gets all the guys.
I think the forgotten part of this, though, is there were 50 players on that Colorado team who had to leave. All of them weren't good enough for Deion, and that's fair and that's fine. But I remember just reading the stories of kids who were like, my dad played here. This was my dream school. I got recruited here. I've been here 3 years. I have to go. That's going to become the normal. So just think about these kids who have to leave their school, their friends, their lives,
Lucy,
just because a new coach comes in.
What you're saying on both counts, the humanity of coaches and kids, you are so right. And welcome to business arriving at college football. It's what it's going to look like. It's going to take a cruel capitalistic hatchet to everything because they're all fighting for the TV money. And the players are disposable and the coaches are disposable, and it's all made for television content. You're absolutely right. And it's all going to get hatcheted by commerce. I'm going to admit it here publicly. I've not met this man, but he makes me happy. His face makes me happy.
Wow.
His mustache makes me happy. The way he plays third base, the way he plays baseball makes me happy.
The way he mashes.
The pornographic hacks that he takes make me happy. Jake Berger with us. They may have rescued their season over the weekend. The Nationals have lost to them every time, I think, except twice. But it's nice to see you, Jake. And we were just talking about the humanity of athletes and how we forget about it. I cannot imagine, Jake, how tired you must be this late in a baseball season. It is inhumane the way they play 162 games and make you fly from city to city. How tired are you with a 9-month-old trying to change lives in a different city and also, hey, here's a pennant raise?
Yeah, it's definitely there's really no words to describe it. I think August is probably the hardest month just because there's no other sports to kind of get you out of it. But you get into September, you get NFL games on, you get college football games on. So, you kind of can glaze over the sore legs and whatnot. But yeah, I mean, anytime you're in a pennant race, though, that adrenaline kind of kicks in right when you get on the field, and you don't even think about how tired you are.
Jake, walk me through the mechanics of trying to put a new. Well, I know yours is a 9-month-old now, but a young child back to sleep when they wake up in the night. Are we a bouncer? Are we swaying from side to side?
Drive
What's the
around
strategy?
the block? What are you doing?
Drive around the block?
Yeah.
Yeah. So my wife and I, both of our sets of parents drove us around the block, and they're like, "Do not do that. Like, don't get into that habit.
Get them used to it.
What?
Yeah.
At all." So I'm more of like a swear, a little shh.
Oh, a little shh. Little shh.
Yeah.
Sing a little bit.
Yeah, my wife's more like bounce. I'm more sweat.
Jake, before this series against the Nationals, a lot of people, Dan included, said the season was over for the Marlins. Is it possible that on Saturday when you had your multi-homer game, you thought, you know what? I need a little break from a 9-month-old. Like, we need this season to go on as long as possible. Let's go on an extended playoff run just so I can get some sleep on the road. Because I'll tell you a personal story. I have a 2-month-old now. I have a 2-year-old. I was hospitalized with kidney stones like 6-7 months ago. It was the best sleep I had gotten in months, and I was like, man, I should have been hospitalized sooner. So I imagine when you're on the road, you're getting a lot of rest. So you want this season to drag out as long as possible, right?
See, but my family travels with me everywhere. So,
Big
you know, my wife does a really good job of, you know, hey, we got a day game tomorrow. I'll take the baby in the night and whatnot. So, yeah, I actually play better when they're with me versus when they're not. So I'm down for them to travel wherever and hopefully through the playoffs too.
Jake, I saw that you grew up playing hockey and you even played with our Matthew Tkachuk at one point. And my question is, can you just text him and tell him I love him? I'm not joking.
Yeah, I'll let him know.
Okay.
Jake, what's the story of the mustache?
So I went into spring training this year and I wanted to change it up, and I'm like, yeah, let's have some fun with the MLB.com photo because it's been a beard the last couple of years. And so I'm like, what can make my family cringe the most? And it was a mustache. So I decided to go with the mustache. All of my photos, like on everything, like Topps cards, everything is a mustache. And but then I started hitting a lot of homers with the mustache. So I let it ride until about June. Started struggling in the month of June. I'm like, all right, I got to change it up. Went to the beard, had a decent July, decent August, and then my wife's like, hey, we got to start hitting some more homers, you know? We better shave the rest of the beard and keep the mustache. And, you know, since I've shaved it, I've played in 5 games and hit, 3 home runs, I think.
She taking all the credit?
Oh, always. Always.
It's an act of hostility against your family?
Yeah, I mean, I just wanted to see how people would react, and you know, you really find out who really loves you when you shave it down to a mustache.
Do I underestimate you by loving how much of a keg softball player you are? Because I know you're obviously a great athlete. In fact, baseball doesn't have, you can't make the old John Kruk jokes about players in baseball aren't athletes anymore. The skill level of what you guys are doing is totally absurd. But I do enjoy your keg softballness.
Yeah, I've probably gotten asked to be on a beer league softball team probably, I don't know, 20 times from 20 different people. And so, I mean, I'm down to get out there. I just got to run it by Kim and the Marlins first.
Wait a minute. So you're talking
They're
about
gonna say no.
As a ringer, you're going to show up with that mustache. You're going to show up. Nobody.
I'd start a softball team just to have Jake Berger on it.
People are not going to know you play for the Marlins, and then they're going to see you hit a softball 450 feet through Flagami's trees.
Yep.
That would be great.
How did the change work for you, Jake? Like when you switched cities and teams and you heard Marlins, were you like, oh, bleep?
No, I was actually
because most are
really excited. You know, it's when you're coming to a team that's in a wild card push. I mean, it makes every single game, you know, every single pitch really, really exciting. So, I was a little nervous because I really didn't know anybody. But me getting traded over with Josh Bell helped a lot. We kind of became instant best friends, and made that transition easier. And I'd played against Braxton Garrett and Nick Fortes and a couple of other guys, so that made it easy. And then the only guy I knew was Johnny Cueto from him being with the White Sox last year. So, but yeah, it was interesting. My wife loves Florida and loves the beach, so I mean that made it easy. Obviously, it's when you're going from Chicago, which is 4.5-hour drive from St. Louis, where my family's from. They're gonna have to get on a flight, but that's easy enough. So no, I was really excited.
Well, your stats also show it, because you were hitting 214. Your OPS was a little bit lower. You had, decent home runs, RBIs, but you've picked it up. There was you had an injection of life in this team at the trade deadline. And you mentioned something that I thought was interesting that is not something that we hear a lot around here, where you talked about the culture of the team and how excited you were to get to the culture of the Marlins coming from the White Sox. What did you mean by that?
Yeah, I mean, I think anytime you're underperforming as a team, it's obviously not as fun of a atmosphere in the clubhouse. And, I got to give a lot of credit to the White Sox for, sticking with me through my different Achilles injuries. And, I was on the shelf for 3 years. And so they stuck with me, and I loved every minute I had in Chicago. But, when you come over to Miami and see, what type of team they have, and they played us in Chicago earlier this year, and came back from 2 games where they were down going into the 9th inning. And it was just that tenacity to not give up, not give in. And that was kind of the culture I was referring to, where, you're coming into a place that is in a wild card race, and, has that extra gear that says, hey, it doesn't matter how much we're down by, we're going to do everything we can to get back into this.
Jake, baseball is a bit of a mind bleep to try and earn your money when you're going to fail 8 out of 10 times. And now you just sort of bounced over the Achilles heel. You've cared about this all your life. Your career is in jeopardy. You tear your Achilles twice, and you sink into a real mental health struggle that has been since diagnosed as post-traumatic stress disorder. You must have felt the obsession of it, must have made you feel like you were swimming and couldn't get out of quicksand.
Yeah, I mean, that was every single day. I really, when something's taken away from you that you've been doing your entire life, it's devastating. And I really didn't know how to deal with that mentally. And, I didn't really have anything in place to, be able to express what I'm dealing with. And yeah, I got diagnosed with PTSD, and especially from my second Achilles rupture, which happened at home. So because obviously when you're on the field and you get injured, it's like, okay, I can kind of compartmentalize that injury with being on the field and playing baseball. But when you do the second one at home, it's like, this is everyday life type stuff. And it's going to affect me a little more. So, it was really hard. I really thought about quitting multiple times, and actually had first conversation I had about fully quitting was with my mom at a Witch in St. Louis, Missouri. And I basically was like, hey mom, I'm thinking about quitting. She's like, don't regret anything you do in life. I think if you quit, you're going to regret it. And I had the same conversation with my dad. He echoed the same thing. And, I'm very, very fortunate that they were there to kind of nudge me along and get me back on the right track.
Jake, I'm sure a lot of people who've gone through mental health issues can relate to what you've gone through. How did you get through it? Was it just family that you leaned on, or did you seek professional help? How did you manage to get through all that?
And PTSD, that's a strong diagnosis, Jake. So you feel like you're going crazy, correct?
Yeah. There was multiple nights where I'd be laying in bed and my whole body would freeze up. It would basically feel like I was re-tearing my Achilles again. And my whole body would kind of get rock solid, and I'd kind of have this I don't know how to describe it. It was I don't know. It's really hard to explain that aspect of it. But getting through it, I really leaned on family, and I kind of made up this like Burger Bombs list of things that I did to kind of help me. And it's a pretty cool acronym because obviously it's Burger Bombs, but
that's right. That's exactly
perfect.
why.
Yes.
That's exactly why it's a cool acronym, because of course it's Burger Bombs.
but so the B of the Burger Bombs is be open, and I was in this day and age, I think the stigma is starting to kind of go away. It's still there though about men being able to just talk about their feelings and talk about what they're going through. And for the longest time, I would just kind of bottle it up, and I started to push my family and friends away and kind of just go into the shell. And so once I was able to kind of start talking about it more and more, made me feel better, made me realize that there's a lot of people that are also dealing with similar stuff. So that was probably the main one. It was be open, and then the M of the Burger Bombs is meditate. And I really started to focus on breathing and just be mindful and realize that this sucks now, but who knows what's going to happen in the future. So just take it one day at a time, and just keep waking up.
Jake, we have about a minute left. Which? What is that?
Oh, it sounds delicious. I bet. Was it a good which? Was it good? What? Tell me more about which.
It's a sandwich place. You guys never been?
No.
Yeah. It's like a full custom sandwich place. Like you can customize like your entire thing.
Look how
it's awesome. You put it on the
happy,
bag.
Look how happy he is under that mustache. Look at him. We finally asked the question. Look at him. Look how delighted he is.
I mean, it's unbelievable. I can't believe you've never had it.
Well, what's the perfect sandwich? Walk us through it.
Oh, that's there's so many options. I think whatever sandwich you have to have banana peppers on it. I don't know why. I just love banana peppers. I think it's probably an Italian. Get some salami on there. Get some ham, and then banana peppers and mustard. Josh Bell keeps making fun of me because I like mustard. And it's really starting
the Burger and Bell thing is a buddy cop movie. Like you guys run around baseball dropping bombs all over the place. Like the Marlins corner infielders feel like giant guys who are only swinging to hit the ball 7,000 feet.
Yeah, and apparently Josh doesn't like mustard, and it's I'm trying to get him on that train.
Is that a good sandwich that Burger has put together? Because you guys were making a lot of faces at his banana pepper edict. You didn't like that.
Not my cup of tea.
It's a weird staple. Yeah. It's not mayonnaise.
Look at that. Burger, you like a spicy burger. You like a spicy sandwich, and everyone here is judging you. No one wants to say it to your face because you're a big famous athlete.
Yeah, I mean, it's all right. I'll probably get like 15 texts after this too from my friends and family judging me for it too. So
one more on the way out here. How do you like your burger cooked?
Cooked or like customization? Because cooked, I think it's like medium, like temperature, and then you don't want to get too raw. Don't want to get too overcooked. And then I would say it's a good old like smash burger. Mustard again. You put a little cheddar on there. Pickles, and that's about it. No banana peppers.
You left out banana peppers because we didn't like it.
The best burger fries are at.
I would say. See, I haven't tried enough in Miami to give a tab, so I can't. I have no
talking
say in
national chains though. We don't really have.
There's one answer here.
Are you afraid of offending Cubans? What's happening here?
I don't think.
Yeah, apparently the Cuban burger is really good. I haven't had it yet. But yeah, I'm gonna say Shake Shack is the best like national.
We got it out of him.
Wow. Yes. Thank you, Jake, and congratulations.
Isn't your nickname Burger King?
Yeah, but Burger King's good too.
Burger King literally gave you burgers.
Save and a Butte.
Overrated.
Thank you, Jake. Appreciate it, sir.
Jay, thank you, man.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Good luck the rest of the season, buddy.
Thank you.
You must be so tired.
He's in LA.
He must be so tired.